Are you stuck in the same old routine at work? Do you find yourself hitting a creative wall, unable to see beyond your current perspective? It's time to break free and unlock the power of fresh perspectives. David how many times have I been saying my name and I still can't get it right? David Gouthro here with Discover Fresh Perspectives. Well, we kind of set the bar low on being articulate here. However, today I do have the pleasure of being here with Joe Standing. Joe, welcome.
Hello. Hi. Welcome, everybody, with us as well.
So, Joe, before we start talking about whatever we want to talk about, which is always fun. Maybe like I met you many, many years ago. Well, I think we decided it was at least 12 years ago. And I didn't know what you did then, and I don't really know what you do now. So maybe you could just let the listeners know a little bit about Joe Standing, and then we'll dive into a great conversation.
Don't y'all feel so blessed to be with someone who David knows nothing about, but has the vote of confidence to have here nonetheless? It's interesting because it's the same dang thing. I'm doing everything really pretty much the same thing, just more integrated now. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it's more integrated, but I don't know what it is that's actually being integrated now.
Okay. Okay. So in 2012, when we originally crossed paths, I was in my second year of being a writing coach. I was facilitating wellness classes, including my own solidification and interpretation of the age-old practice known as yoga. And I was writing books. Now, I was also traveling around the world to learn about some really cool components of publishing. So I started traveling to all the big markers of success in the writing and publishing world, which are obviously everyone kind of who wants to be in this business, I think. And maybe I'm incorrect. And of course, there's more than two sides to all questions and viewpoints. So for me, at least, I always wanted to expand from the get-go. And I wanted to create my roots from the beginning to complement that extension of self that I visioned myself embodying. How does that track?
I'm not quite sure exactly what that means, but
Which part?
all of it, like, and words like embodying, I have a sense of what that is. A lot of people may not. When you talk about integrating things, some of the sites around the world around different aspects of publishing. I mean, there's so many things I could be curious about that you just kind of floated out there.
Yes. And from my center, hallelujah for that. So London, New York, Chicago, LA. Wanted to get to some of the hot places to experience how they do publishing. And I was disheartened by what I discovered sometimes. I was also lifted up and loved on by people who were also, in a lot of ways, immigrants as well. So it's been a weird identity, and that's the work that I'm doing now. So in my book writing, I'm writing about identities. And for years, I've been writing and researching about transition.
A transition from and change management, it's a, transition, transformation is, almost a mechanical kind of thing. I have a sense you're meaning something more than that when you're talking about transition.
Mm-hmm. So I'm talking about transitioning from any point in our lives, but also not just in the physical realm, but a transition as we're doing right now. We're doing transitioning from one piece of information to the next. And we're looking at, okay, how can we integrate this and make all this information gel and mold? So we're these people and we become these people parts almost in our search for ourselves outside of ourselves. So we go out to be incredibly excited about creating our lives as youngins. And I'm going to travel to this place, mentioned earlier, or I'm going to educate at this institution. And it's because I want to become this part of myself. And oftentimes, those selves that we build are attained through outward structures, which is commendable because that means that someone is courageous and brave enough to step outside of comfort zones, to expand upon how we perceive ourselves. And yet, the work that I'm really excited about doing right now, because I've lived in 24 different cities, traveled around the world by myself, um, David, is something called Unifying You. So that's the name of the book that I'm working on right now. It's
Huh.
called Unifying You. So a unification of those parts that might have began to be in a disarray because of that outward searching. And
So I'm just trying to make sense of this in my own world. So is that unifying things like the roles that we have, like parent, spouse, business person, whatever, or are there different components or different pieces that we're talking about unifying?
Mhm. Yes, and so yes, we want to um, be the same person as someone, the first deaf NBA player, um, Lance Allred. He wrote a book called The New Alpha Male. We want to try to be the same person in every room, for sure. So unifying those outward roles, as you mentioned, being a parent, being a teacher, being a facilitator, being a gardener, and all of this is interesting because the information that we see, sometimes we think we want to learn something,
Mhm.
and we um, think we're going to read every book on that subject. And then we realize that we meet someone who speaks a totally different language, not literally as far as the language of your nationality or culture, but someone who's so pinpointed on a different exactness in a field of study, someone who's really zeroed in and is honing in on a different facet of learning, whatever that is, a different field, and you're listening to them talk. I mean, we've all done this. We're sitting at an airport, we're traveling, we're sitting at a cafe, and we end up listening to someone who's so different from us, who has
Mm.
no linear applicableness to us. And yet, as they're talking, we're starting to get little seedlings of congruency with our own life. Like, they just said something that resonates with me, even though they grew up in a different, possibly a different country, different setting, different family at the very least, which really, I mean, can vary by night and day, the families that we're born into and raised with, and how those families function. And then the city we grew up in, and the friends we had around us, the company that we kept, the jobs that we saw, and everything's so different. So, what unifies us as a people and not just independently, and yet the most depth of the work is within oneself. So in the identity work that I'm developing, that I started in my undergrad in my health sciences, that I've now extended and now getting into that Unifying You book, has 5 identity associations, which is fun. So the first one is the one you mentioned, which is surface identity, how we function in the world. And I won't go through necessarily all of them because there's 5 and we only have X amount of minutes. And also because there's a world of other chit chat that we might evolve into. So I'm unattached.
Got it. Okay.
We could sprinkle in another one. Transgressional identity is something that I call transgressional identity. Something that, as I was meditating in Hawaii, I've lived in Hawaii twice, same island, Oahu. I call it the New York of Hawaii because, well, we've got all of our military bases there as Americans. And again, you heard me, this conversation started about identities because I said, that there was a really nice finding of ourselves and finding of myself and the people around me at the different conferences in these different um, major cities, and how I found a commonality in the willfulness to move onward within other people who were also quote unquote immigrants. So finding my own identity, if I was grasping, I think the key message here, if I were grasping outwardly, then it's a kind of a doomsday situation. If I can build bridges internally to reduce that nagging internal conflict that can be within any human being, then I'm being proactive. I'm situating myself in a way that is more, here's that word that we like, embodied. And I'm able to connect with more ease with myself at any given moment so that I'm more efficient in the workplace. There's less internal conflict, more drive to expand beyond the knowing of what is current day, and innovation in any company is at the precipice of what we need in the world at large.
So it seems if I want to bring those together, I have to be aware of the notion that there are those differences inside me, right? And this is probably the wrong term, but where there's cognitive dissonance, there's something that just it doesn't mesh, and I'm not quite sure why until I made a take that apart and look at the different pieces before I can bring them back together. Am I getting too into my head on this or
No,
confusing
it's the
myself?
condition, the condition and the dreamer, the conditioning and the dreaming parts of ourselves, the part that always
Okay.
is looking off at the horizon and says, yes, and.
And the conditioning meaning that's it's someone else's views that I've chosen, oftentimes unconsciously, to take on at the expense of being able to have my own dreams to guide my action.
Yes. And our own conflictions, even. Oftentimes, we even take on the conflictions of other people.
Sorry, did you say convictions or conflictions?
Afflictions. Friend, F like friend. Yes. Befriending our conflictions as
Oh.
well.
Well, and that, and sometimes I'm just thinking about it now. Sometimes when you um, ask a question or offer a comment or something like that, and someone says, "Well, I'm conflicted." Maybe that's a surface manifestation of that. That there's things that aren't integrated inside me, and I'm conflicted.
Hallelujah for that. Yes. Bridges to be built. So there's interwoven identity, which is, and I never really got to the transgressional, but the transgressional, which we just identified in our conversation, ironically, is when we transgress to an old part of ourselves to appease someone else.
Okay.
Interwoven, carrying the pain. Now, this is neither negative nor positive. Here's that world of neutrality that I have strong conviction about. That once, and again, now that I'm in the academic world and going to grad school at the University of Denver, I wish that I could always cite my sources.
Hmm.
However, back in the day, uh, many years ago, keep in mind, 2003 was when I started reading. Well, 2002 was when I started reading some of those seemingly far out books at the time, like Siddhartha by Herman Hesse, was a book that liberated me beyond the confines of some of my conditioning, of holding on, and that everything that was going to be made manifest in my life had to be through consumption and attainment and corralling every little piece of nicety and materialism that I could in my life. And that would be my ultimate definition, because I had to always catch up and stay up with everyone else the haves, right? I grew up in a beautiful area. I see you, because we can see each other, even though you're only hearing our voices. I can see David, and I saw a gasp. And I know I'm a talker, so I'm
Me, I
going back.
guess.
so so I'm shifting away from the table a little bit so I can hear.
Well, so a couple of things. First of all, when is your book coming out? Hopefully.
AIM December 2026. I've always put out all the books so far. We have Conquer Trauma Drama, Get Your Life Back 2015, Conquer Trauma Drama Breakthrough Curriculum 2016, Revision 2017, and Trauma Resolution, Training in Trauma Cooperative Yoga for Self and Beyond 2021 November. So it takes time. Books take time, but yes.
And the reason I ask, I want to make sure that in the program notes we put in the other books that you've written and to
Ooh,
say, like, pay attention, right? Just so people know. And if they want to dig deeper, they can do that. So we can do that afterwards. But I want to make sure that people can see those if they wish.
what I really love about this work, David, is that it's calling on me to exercise all of the peripheral, the horizon seeking aspirations. So, like, to me, like spiritual work can feel kind of flowery sometimes. And this is really rooted in conversation with self. There's nothing that I need to do to prove said conversation. It happens all within, and then my life changes exponentially as a result.
Well, I'm assuming, and I think you said the title is Unifying You,
Yes.
right? So I would imagine that it's very difficult to write about something that you haven't experienced yourself, right? Before you can write about unifying you, you have to have unified you, right?
The
It's like,
reason why, yeah, absolutely. The reason why I started the book was because in my meditations, in my nature strolls, and my reflections, I started to see myself in these ways of these components that create bridges that allow me to observe myself with neutrality and non negative judgment because we're all judging. There's neutral judgment, positive judgment, negative judgment.
and so in the book, will you be describing how to make those bridges, how to build those bridges, or just
Oh,
that
it's
there's a need
well
to?
on my way. Yes,
Okay.
I already have hundreds of pages on it.
Huh.
And because I started in my undergrad, I only did like, gosh, I don't know, probably just like 100 pages during that time. Um, but uh, but I loved it. It just feels like an integrated part of me to talk about it for sure. So I'm really happy to be able to share the work that's fascinated me ever since I was little. I just remember when I was in, you know, I was, I started off in Catholic school, private Catholic school in Virginia Beach, Virginia. And I remember the teacher had us reading aloud. And I remember I was asked to read a part about the word internal conflict came about. And I thought, and that just put me in a spin as a 7-year old. I just thought that was the most fascinating thing ever that we could have a conversation with ourselves. And it wasn't just all about our relationship with others, but that our relationship with ourselves could craft and change our existence.
So I was chatting with my wife about this the other day, and I was remembering back to it's probably grade 8, probably a peak year. I really liked my English teacher that year, and he was saying that 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 most stories, most plots are either man against nature, man against himself. And of course, my wife said in her full comprehension of what I was trying to say, "What about women?" Said, "I'm just telling you what the words were used in grade 8, but those are the 3 fundamental sources of conflict, which make a story interesting. So man, against someone else, man against nature, what's going on out there, and also man against himself, which sounds like some of the things that you're alluding to loosely when you talk about what happens in Unifying You.
I think nature, as much as it is out there, it's also the intermingling of the out there and the in there. Um, the thing that's so fascinating about nature is that it's all entwined and it's all influencing one another.
Okay, yeah. That was a little too sophisticated for my 13-year-old self, but yeah, I can see that. Right? Because there's also, we talk about human nature and things like that, right? Which is on a more internal versus an external.
Well, David, you just basically brought it home to where we started at the beginning. Um, the disheartening part about going to some of those writing conferences was that I learned that 16% of published authors were men or women, excuse me, women. That would be funny if it was in the reverse, but women. And I thought 16%. I just remember sitting in my chair and going, what's going on? And
Yeah.
as your wife pointed out, it's because language oftentimes was put in the written word by the notice of men. Now, most men have people they've married who tend to be women, although not always. Hallelujah. There's diversity in our ecology. And it's so heartening to know that we have the power and initiative, no matter who we are, to create relationship with people who are curious about other beings.
Mm-hmm.
So thank you.
Could not agree more. And hopefully that ratio has changed fairly dramatically. I'm sure it's nowhere close to 50-50, but hopefully it's not as bad as 16%. I knew it was low. I didn't realize how low that is and how much we miss out. Well, I mean, any group that's missing, I think, is a tragedy. So it could be around gender, it could be around age, it could be around culture, it could be around so many different things, right? And to be able to live an environment where, in order for you to be right, doesn't mean someone else has to be made wrong.
More than two sides to a question.
Yep.
I mean, there's at least five sides to ourselves, as I've pointed out.
And we've only heard two so far.
Three.
Can we hear three?
Well, surface is one you introduced, and then we organically had a conversation about transgressional and
Transgressional. Yep.
people pleasing, and crafting an identity around said appeasement, and then interwoven, and then well, for copyright purposes, I will shield the other two. I did work with one of the groups that I researched heavily. Spoke with one of them recently about the instrumental function of intellectual property that we need to copyright our intellectual property. And I've been putting it out wide and far, like you offer up your insight, you offer up your candor and your position of having, 30 years of facilitation experience so far. And you offer that up here in these conversations that you allow to let loose to the public. So thank you for that too.
So let's maybe go in another direction here, if you're willing to. That you just
Of
triggered
course.
for me, and to me, it's about what we own, like the notion of copyright. And I see some of my colleagues that try to own a word or a phrase, and I guess there's some marketing reasons for doing that, or some revenue reasons for doing that. But I was chatting with one of my colleagues probably a number of years ago about copywriting something so that no one else could copyright it, so we could make it free for anyone to use. So
Mhm.
it's almost like with drugs, so an AIDS drug or something like that. And so making it free for the world, with that, it's maybe not a good example because you want to recover some of your cost to develop the drug, but to get as much money as possible from one place and then not to let someone else have it who can use it. I may be making a bad metaphor here, or an inappropriate metaphor, but about ideas. Like if we could put those ideas out there, especially ones that were generative and positive, how we balance the desire to have those out there for the world to use, make the world a better place, versus there's some economic realities I have to eat, and so people pay me more because this is my phrase that pays sort of thing. I'm wandering all over the place here, but what I'm struggling with is ownership of ideas, and if what we should be doing is is sharing the ownership versus hanging on to it.
I love, uh, I see this. I see all aspects of what you're saying. Margaret Atwood, ever heard about her?
Lover, yeah,
I saw her speak in New York City at the Tools of Change Writing and Publishing Conference in 2012, same year that we've crossed paths.
yeah.
So this is beautifully intrinsic to revisiting just the roots of how you and I connected that same time and place. And she said, if you want to be rich, don't be an author. You'll be able to have your cheese sandwich. And here I am. Oh my gosh. Time flies. I just even keeping track of when God, 2024. I mean, it's just wild. The increase, the rapidity of time, and yet very few things change in the way the mind functions. That's a good thing and a bad thing. We want to learn how to be innovative. To have a copyright that protects it from all other copyrights is admirable. I didn't know that existed. It's something that I'm definitely open to. And as you also pointed toward, the economics of being a thought leader, if you
Mm.
will, someone who innovates and says, okay, I want to try to go in this direction, even though I've never heard it anywhere. People might look at me like I had 10 heads. and that takes a certain boldness, but it also takes a lot of time and resources and faith and sacrifice. So copyright and that and so why I do like why we're sitting here and we're releasing this talk is also integrative into my shared value with you that these the crux of our work needs to be shared. The sentiment, also the functionality and components of it. So if people were to, if you were to look up, and if you are to look up this work on YouTube, I have like 5 or 6 videos where we're just talking about identity association model, the IAM identity association model, which is under the umbrella of the whole notion of unifying ourselves. Unifyingyou.com is where I share some of the intents and a fun little it's I've really boiled down my information sharing on websites. I think that people get overwhelmed. So I really just made it really fun. I found the most beautiful um designer named Grace Reed.
Mm.
She's a VA and a VC, a visual consultant, and my functioning virtual assistant in the here and now in 2024. And she's been exponentially helped me in putting all of these words into pictures that can help magnetize.
Nice.
Yeah, unifyingyou.com. It's just a fun place to like revisit. There's context stuff and all that jazz, but ultimately it's just like there's some fun, cool pictures that we've created to personify the intentions of Unifying You.
So I'm going to grab an idea here, some things that I heard, and see if there's a connection. So you used to, I think you said that you used to help people write their memoirs.
Yeah, well, yes.
So I'm just wondering if there's what the possible connections are between the concepts of unifying you and the value of writing a memoir. Is there a connection there, or could there
Well, are you
be?
talking about in the timeline of how my work came to be or philosophically?
No, philosophically, like that. So I understand that because another friend of mine, Catherine Lake, who used to be in Vancouver, she helps people write memoirs as well. And so I remember, and she was on one of the early podcasts. So Catherine, like, I'm confused. How is a memoir different from an autobiography? She said, well, let me tell you. And so I'm wondering if, that if, because I'm just thinking that maybe writing a memoir is something I should do, and what would the value be from doing that? And it seems to me that as a result of writing a memoir, some of the unification of me might actually come through as a result of trying to write that memoir. Am I sort of
Absolutely.
smoking something funny here? Or
No,
oh, good.
that's entirely, I mean, that just seems so well placed. That seems very sensical to me. I mean, I have nothing else to contribute to that. That just seems to me to be beautiful, a beautiful dedication both to your intention of said writing.
Mm,
And sometimes writing is you're a gregarious human. You like to talk. You like connecting. You like to listen. Your superpower, all of our superpower. So whether it's listening to ourselves, which is so easy to tune out,
mhm, mhm.
or each other, or epic books. But I really am excited to experience your creation. I was just in awe. I mean, I went to read your bio and I read the whole thing, David, and it's a long bio on your website.
I was told to stretch it.
By who? No, it's perfect. It's perfect for it. However, when you write a book, you will have gotten 18,000 times more than that. Everybody will be even more thrilled because we'll actually be able, because when I'm reading it, I'm going, oh my gosh, how did that happen? And this and that. And look at these leaps in his life. So, no, I'm not selling you on being a writing coach, but I am saying that I hope that this talk right now and this conversation that you return to, hopefully once or twice more, whether it's through actual listening to the audio or just kind of reflecting in your own mind, that you and that this is fertile ground for you to really grow that intention. Because then we'll go back to you'll have a different website or like second or third website, the name of the book.com.
So, okay,
And then
so
your bio will be like 3 sentences. You'll be like all those posh global authors that you go to, you look at the book and it's like 3 sentences to describe them on the back. I'm always been amazed by that. It's like, wow, really? And now I get it. It's like, gosh, it really isn't about me.
okay, so time for therapy
Oh, yes. Thank you.
for
My favorite.
me. For
Oh,
me.
all of us. Well,
For all.
like you said, it's intrinsic.
It's it's
It's for all of us. We all do this together.
okay. So those of you that resist writing, listen closely to what Joe's about to me. So I don't like writing, and I tell myself that because I find it hard. I'm not a good typist, and it takes me a long time to put something on paper because I really want it to be um, not misunderstood. So it takes me a long time to figure out what's the word. How might that be misinterpreted? I've taken one writing course in my life at SFU. It was on, I think it was called Clear Writing or something like that. And what a wake up call it was for me. And in fact, I've become kind of brutal using ChatGPT. I just got a letter from a student this morning. And like, if you read it, you kind of go, who is this person trying to impress with all these big, long words? I said, Chat GPT, could just simplify this. And like, all of a sudden I could understand it. And I wasn't trying to think, I wonder if I'm as smart as the person who's writing this. Right. But I do resist writing. And this, I've got books on how to write and, some really popular authors, and I don't do it. So I don't know if it's a prioritization or if I need some deep therapy to get over that, or pay someone a couple $100,000, which I don't have, to be a book coach. So if you were to say, here,
Okay.
David, here are 3 things to think about.
Wait. Okay, here it is. Here it is. Remember how we were talking about how there's so much glistening wisdom within someone who has a totally different axis of existence earlier?
Yep.
They're in a totally different field. There's nothing common. And yet, as we listen, we find little glimmers of ourself in them. Okay. So, what is it that you're really good at? This is the second part of this comment.
This, like, I love meeting people. I love being able to exercise my curiosity. I love to learn. I love to be amazed. I love to see things through different eyes every day when I walk my dog in the park. things like that. Those
Okay,
are things that I
perfect.
love to do.
Okay, exercising curiosity, walking your dog in the park, and talking to people.
Oh, and listening, having conversations with people.
But this is gonna be your organic content. So sometimes you do obviously we need to integrate other that's well where the fruitfulness comes from our work is that we reference people we listen to, whether it's in the written word or audio or
Mhm.
real time conversations. So that makes our books really well rounded. So that part's going to be very, 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 very simple in that you already like listening to people. So now, do you like talking about what you heard someone say?
Um, s- s- I'd say sometimes, Joe, like if I have a conversation with someone on a plane that I just like totally blew my mind. Or it's like listening to ideas on CBC where they're having conversation with people talking about things I never even imagined existed. So sometimes passing those things on, to say, this is so cool, you know what I heard. So in some cases I like doing that.
I think you and I are soulmates because your writing process sounds very similar to mine. Here it is. You've got to bring where there is ease into what is called writing a book. Writing a book is way more doomsday sounding than it actually is. How do I do that? Well, I mean, there's functional steps like actually getting something down and then talking to people who are in the business and selling your idea to someone potentially or obviously more than one person. Sometimes the traditional route, traditional house, go do the traditional house, okay, but you get my gist. Sometimes whether you do the traditional house or not, point and point being is that you're going to be talking to a lot of people, whether you do traditional house or not. There's a lot of putting yourself out there. Hey, will you talk to me? All these different formats that exist today, and that grows the body of your work. Now, there's transcriptions that you can refer to. Hallelujah for that. So that takes some of the weight away from our thoughts of that writing is just some lump sum expedition in a room. However, what we really want to do is bring our favorite daily activities to this process of writing a book and also bring ourselves to these daily activities in a way that is integrated in such that I am writing a book. Bottom line, it takes time to write a book. So take that onus or pressure off of, oh, I have to do this in X amount of time, unless you're signed with a house and you're on your eighth book or whatever. No, you don't. So when you're writing, when I say we're soulmates, what I mean is, as far as being these writers go out with your dog, kiss your wife, tell her you love her, put in your earbuds, or better yet, listen to the birds. If you know a lot of people in your community, put in your earbuds and start apologizing. People, I'm so sorry. I'm listening to this new podcast, Little White Lie, never hurt anybody. Then bring your note cards, those little index cards, and your pen in your jacket pocket where it's zipped up from that Vancouver rain. On a sunny day, maybe your back jean pocket and start notating those little wonderings that come to mind. Those little, gosh, I'd really like to say this to someone right now. If someone was walking beside me right now, I would tell them this or whatever. But imaginary friends can take you a long way.
So I think, I'll take that thought and modify it to what would work better for me, which is instead
Mhm.
of getting out of the flow and pulling out a pen and writing something down, I've got a pocket recorder that I can very easily capture those thoughts in and then just download it and have them transcribed and put
Or,
into those cards. So that would be a super easy thing to do. But
okay, okay. What's the would be? Is it or is it not? Is it a super easy thing to do?
it is super easy. Very. I've got a recorder that I have velcroed onto the horn on the steering wheel of my car. So if I think of something, just go and capture it. But
Fun.
but I haven't downloaded it. So the second
Oh,
piece
so
of
you've
that's really
already
important.
started this process of capturing your thoughts so you can grow them.
Well, but
Do as you
usually
will with them.
usually it's been a to-do list. So I think the value is much, much greater if it's the thoughts that go through my, because I mean, they happen when I'm in the park all the time.
That's what I'm saying, is
Yeah,
that these
yeah.
thoughts happen when we're on our walks. If we live in I mean, the view I see outside of David's window right now, guys. I mean, I thought that you had a fake backdrop up. That's how stunning Mother Nature is where you are.
It's pretty beautiful. That's for
Father
sure.
Sky and Mother Nature, they are just married behind
Yep.
your desk there, and a perfect they're so gorgeous. And that's Vancouver got me to start writing, honestly. I mean, it just felt not it, but I felt so safe in Vancouver. So bringing that sense of felt safety into my home country of the United States has been and is an ongoing journey. It's a different beast here. And I love both countries. An integration of self is such a beautiful journey. And it's, I moved back here in 2015, but traveled the world around 2015 and then lived in Hawaii 2016. And Native Hawaiians, they have co-created a Hawaii that feels nothing like the continent of the United States.
Mhm. Thank goodness.
Mhm.
So, Joe, it just occurred to me that we've had this conversation, and I kind of forgot that there are other people listening. It's like, "Well, welcome to our conversation." So, I think at this point, what I'd like to do, and when I close off this conversation, I'm, if it's okay, a few more things we can talk about. But thank you so much for being here today and for allowing us to just kind of see where the conversation took us. I'm really looking forward to seeing your book when it comes out, Unifying You. But before that, looking at some of your others as well. And if you have a website, anything like that whatsoever, Joe, that we can put into the program notes would be great. So I have been here today with Joe Standing, who's been, and I know this is a bad way of saying it, but a long-standing friend of mine who I met many years ago and feel I know you much better than would be explained by the amount of time we spent talking with each other through social media, whatever. So I do appreciate you willing to be here with me today. Thank you.
Hey, thank you again, again and again and again. It's been a real pleasure. And the feeling is shared that there's an ease and grace. And there's that word integration again, that there's no need to be confined to one way of being or oneself, if you will, but just fully here with you in the here and now. So thank you for letting me be a part of the whole of your creations here. I'm so excited to hear more, and I think we feel like we know each other really well because we're on each other's social media and we read each other's stuff every week, even though it's been 12 years since we've seen each other in person.
And one day perhaps face to face. So
Hallelujah!
yeah,
Let's do this. Let's step up our games and get this going. We have our new expedition, and that is to really continue to bring this integration of self to the made manifest, and let's co-create an experience where we're in the same experienced real time again together, for sure.
perfect. So
Thank you for having me again, David.
again, my total pleasure. And it's been David Gouthro, Discover Fresh Perspectives. Hope to have you listen again next week. Subscribe now because on Fresh Perspectives, every episode is an opportunity to explore new horizons and redefine what's achievable.